Okay, today I'm going to show you a quick tutorial on how to create a pivot table. This is a very useful tool in Excel. It makes organizing your data a lot easier, more efficient, reading it, using only parts of it when you don't need to use all of it, and looking at it in relation to each other. So to make a pivot table, we're going to need to select all of our data. We can do that easily by using this key in the top left corner of our worksheet. Selects everything. Go to our Insert tab at the top here. We're going to insert a pivot table. It knows the range because we have already selected it. You could type it in if you wanted to do it another way. We'll hit OK. Now we are starting to see what is going on here. It starts a new sheet first of all because we told it to, and then we have all of our different data over here. And I'm going to show you how we can look at that stuff a little bit easier. So first of all, we're going to select our room type and put that into our columns. Next, we will go to grab our neighborhoods, put that in our rows. Now you're starting to see how the pivot table is giving us the data that we need and only that data, and it's a lot easier to read than that worksheet we looked at before. In our values, we will be using the price. And so one thing we need to adjust with the values, typically you're going to want the average. It's also helpful to make sure that you're looking at 2 decimal places, which we are. We want to hit OK. OK. Now we can see how these values have changed a little bit. Another thing that you can do is filter this table by a lot of different things. Any of these different field names you can enter, but for the purpose of this tutorial, we will be doing reviews per month. Let's drop those in there. Just to kind of show you what that does, we could select all, maybe try to see which will show for these amount of reviews per month. Okay, so back to select all. Another useful thing that you can do based off of your pivot table is insert a chart, and this is just another graphical way to help maybe your client, maybe yourself, see the data that you've organized in its relation to each other. So we're going to go back to our Insert tab, go to our charts. We want to insert a clustered bar chart. If you can't just tell by the pictures, you can hover over and it will tell you what that chart what the chart is called. We're going to use this nice little bar chart, and since we have a lot of data, the bars are kind of small. We could have made this a smaller chart or a pivot table with less data in it, and this chart would be even more readable. But even still, this tells us a lot about the neighborhood, the type of room, the amount of reviews per month, which could also tell you about the popularity of the place. And all of this information is just to help you read and understand different kinds of data that you're working with, and maybe deliver it to your client in a way that makes sense to them. So pivot tables can be something you can use for a lot of different reasons. Now I'm going to tell you a quick joke. It's about 2 men. One's in a hot air balloon. He's flying around in a hot air balloon, and he suddenly realizes he's lost. He reduces the height that he's flying at and spots a man on the ground, and he goes down and he shouts to the man, "Hello, excuse me, can you tell me where I am?" And the man on the ground says, "Yes, you're in a hot air balloon. You're hovering 30 feet above this field." And the man in the hot air balloon says, "Wow, you must work in information technology." The man on the man on the ground says, "I do, but how did you know that?" And the guy in the balloon says, "Well, everything you've told me is technically correct, but it's of no use to anyone." And the man below says, "Well, you must work in management." And the balloonist says, "I do, but how did you know that?" And he says, "Well, you don't know where you are, where you're going, but you expect me to be able to help. You're in the same position you were before we met, but now it's my fault." I'm sure that's a sentiment that you can all relate to. Thank you.